Awesome, everyone. Morning for another Connect and Share on a Friday morning, coming to you from Darug country on this NAIDOC week, and we're here to celebrate healing country. And we have a jam-packed session for you today, lots of updates, lots of content, and a very special guest speaker as well. But before we kick off, can I please acknowledge all our traditional owners of the lands that we meet today. As I say, I come from Darug country. Here we say Warrami, hello and welcome, and may I pay my respects to all our Aboriginal people, past, present and emerging leaders of which we work with to help understand our country better so that we can look after it better, we can interpret it better, and we can use it to improve the health and well-being of our participants in our activities. So different change of events today. I'm going to jump into our guest speaker first and foremost, and what a treat we have. Thank you to Mark, who's joining us from Riverina, and I'm sure he will help us understand a little bit more about his background and also his ancestry. But I wanted to start with a beautiful video which I located, and I asked Mark if it was okay if I could share that with you. So first of all, let me kick off with this video to give you a taste of what you'll hear about today.
My name is Mark Sadler. So you and Nadi Mark Sadler, my name Mark Sadler. My business, Bunji Cultural Tours, has been operating for some years now. What you see is what you get from me, and I'll give you a 100% truly genuine experience, and it comes from 80,000 years of my people teaching me to be able to Bunji share with people today.
Haven't been to Lockhart before, so it's a good opportunity to understand a little bit more about the Indigenous culture and to understand the culturally significant sites around the area.
I found it so exciting to learn about such an ancient culture that I had no knowledge about before. I've never experienced anything like this before in New South Wales.
Well, it's so hands-on. It's a new level of learning. You get to understand a little bit about the Wiradjuri language. Such a great experience. You can go to a museum, but you'll forget half of what you've seen. But if you're actually doing and seeing and experiencing it, it's a whole new level.
To educate people about Wiradjuri culture, I need to have them out here on country. And if you come on our journey, on our Muluru, we can show you places that you walk every day and you'll never know what you walk on or what you pass. But with our help, we can guide you through those things, and you may go to a place where you feel a bit special and you don't know why. And non-Aboriginal people can feel the same way as us because we're all connected to Guni Nurrumbung, Mother Country. So our tours help people in reconciliation to understand that and try and hold some traditions that are very, very close to us.
If you've never actually been out into New South Wales, this is a fantastic way to see it, but you'll be seeing it with different eyes, and it's something that you'll take away forever.
Amazing content there, and thank you to Mark for letting me share that with you. Can I now introduce Mark to speak with us on what he does and talk to us? And we have some great questions which have been sent by some of our members to ask Mark, and he's also agreed to share that content with us as well. So over to you, Mark.
Yeah, Yama. You say Warrami in your language. In our language, we say Yama. A lot of people know a lot of Korean mobs say Yama, but in my language, that's a shortened version of Yamandu, Yamandu Marang Muji, which is are you well friend. So a lot of us want to say Yama. So I say to you, Yamandu Marang Muji today to all you people. I'm sitting here on Wiradjuri country, ancient land. So I'll do a welcome the country for you as I'm able to down here. So I'll say to you, Go Abana Radrigo Nurumbangu, you and Nadi Mark Sadler, Nadu Nurigilang Radrigibia, Mandangu Lori, Outback Mandangu Dalang. So my name is Mark Sadler. I welcome you all to Wiradjuri country. ancient land, 80,000 years history down here. I thank you for all coming along, and my name is Mark Sadler, very proud Radri man. So that's what I said in my short few words. When I share and teach my Radri language and culture, as you'll all get to understand, the more that you understand about the names of towns and places, the more you'll start to understand as far as being tourism people and place people where you go to places, you'll understand more about the nations that you all work on. So I sit here this morning with Biana here this morning in a place called Wagga Wagga, which you know of. Wagga Wagga's got two true meanings. Wagga Wagga is wagon. It's place of many crow. Wagon is our crow. But Wagga is also Wagadi, come here and dance. So Wagga is a celebration town, ceremony, corroboree ground, same as Ngambri, which you people know as Canberra. Ngambri means meeting place in Ngunnawal language. So Ngambri is also a meeting place like Wagadi, Wagga Wagga. I don't like to talk about myself too much. I'd rather talk about my culture and my area. But this week too, we, as Laurie said, we celebrate NAIDOC. Wallawin Nurrumbung is healthy country or heal country. So country, in our understanding, Nurrumbung is your home country in our language, and Galray means the land. So in our language, country to us is Galray land. It's the main, it's the people, it's the Baliogun, it's the animals, it's the Wer, it's the earth, it's the Galing, it's the water, and it's the Dargun, it's the dirt. So country is encompassing all of that, and it also includes you people that are non-Aboriginal. I don't see, as a Radri man, I don't see colours of people. We see two people. We see good fella, bad fella. So it doesn't matter who you are or what you are, you're all encouraged to enjoy this beautiful place that we have cared for and continue to care for 80,000 years. As I was going to say, where I sit here this morning in my office in Wagan, if I was to drive about 4 hours to where the sun goes to sleep, I would be at a place with no disrespect to any Aboriginal people when I mention this, I talk about people past, but we would be in a place there which we know as Mungo. Mungo was a large inland freshwater sea till 20-odd thousand years ago, and that last modern ice age sort of took that out of the environment. Well, my people have survived ice ages. My people have survived megafauna. My people have really struggled for the last 250 years from colonisers that come in and have changed our place. But we're here to work with everyone in this place here to make sure that we protect our culture and we don't show any anger, fear or hate for what's happened in the past. We need to move forward as a nation of people. So if I was to go drive four and a half hours to where the sun goes to sleep at Mungo, I would be at a place there where uncle and auntie are now recorded at 60,000 years old. If I was to go north to where my mum and dad come from in a place called Lake Jellicoe, Uabalong, my dad's my black blood and my mum's my white Guwayne, my white blood. There's a man out there called Uncle Kayakatu. Kayakatu is actually a place where my dad sheared out there a lot and knows a place. Kayakatu is also a massacre site for our people out there. But the archaeologist in Canberra and Ngambri tells me that Uncle Kayakatu, who was found some years ago, is around about 30,000 years old. And when he walked this land, what we call the Galari Billa, the Lachlan, was about 20 or 30 k's north of where it is now. If we go to Ngambri, which is Canberra, which is Ngunnawal country, when you get past Yass, you go into Ngunnawal country, there's scientific evidence of cultural fire burning, which is what I still practice, which is coal fire burning where the sun wakes up on the side of Ngambri, up to 80,000 years old. And if we were to go and cross, and Canberra from Wagan is only like a bit over 2 hours from us. If I was to go over the Milawa Indiga, the Murray, which, as you all know, we're all in lockdown and all doing stuff, but out here in Riverina, we're still able to move around a bit. If I was to cross over the Milawa Indiga, which you know as the Murray, that's why some places in Victoria are called Milawa and some places are called Indiga. It's our word for the top end of the Murray Billa. If I was to go to a place called Beechworth, to the Bungarung people down there, clan of the Yabadun, who are clan of the Bungarung people at Beechworth, which is a big tourist town for Ned Kelly and all that sort of stuff. you're able to go into a site there, which is very, very special, which shows artwork, which is 30,000 years old, and shows it of a megafauna marsupial lion that lived in our area here. So we've got megafauna down here that was just recently found up at a place also called, we know as Dumet, which you'll know as Tumut, which is placed by the river. And that's in Radri country. And since the fires come through, you know, the last recent bushfires come through, they were repairing the roads up there. And one of the grader operators fixing one of the shoulders of the roads actually knocked out a complete jawbone full of teeth of what we call a wombat, or you call a wombat. And that wombat was as big as a Ford Triton ute. And there's been bones found around here. So that megafauna lived of my people. They only downsized and sort of disappeared 20, 30,000 years ago. So I'm talking 80,000 years living culture down here. And I'm also talking that part of tourism, which I know you mob are into and doing stuff, is that I'm also a director of a mob called NAIDOC, which is New South Wales Aboriginal Tour Operator Council. So we deal direct with Destination New South Wales and the Minister of Tourism. And I said, I hate talking about myself, Laurie, but I've also become what they call an Aboriginal Signature Experience of Tourism Australia. So I also assist all those mob and non-Aboriginal tourism operators to understand that NAIDOC, as 100% owned Aboriginal tourism operators, we want to work very closely with your operators as well, because I see that is very complementary. That you know, we know the country. We also work. I'm also an eco pass operator, so with NAIDOC and being that, we also work very close with national parks to get them to understand that the parks that they care for, that we still care for, are in desperate need of better caring, are in desperate need of infrastructure that's kept away from ceremonial sites. And national parks and tourism operators have got to understand that some of those parks, especially down here in Riverina Murray, are still pristine places where only we have highly endangered vegetation and animals that only live in those areas. So you know, you tourism operators that work in the national parks and through that, we would like to see you have a genuine conversation with us Aboriginal tourism operators, how we can work together. So it's very important. So I've been operating my own business for 35 years. I've been into tourism and schools. I started off a school program, so I go into school and do early learning centres right through to universities. I don't read and write. My skill set's not there. My skill set's oral and visual, and you can see the artwork that I've put in behind me. That's some high flow art that I do now. I put that one up there specifically today because that's a meeting place. My interpretation of a meeting place, of the fire in the middle and the black objects on the outside of people sitting around that having a meeting. And black doesn't mean what colour of people is. So I put that there today because I see that as what we're doing today. We're sitting around having a yarn up, and we're all coming together as Australians and people, and we need to work together to move this nation forward. So, you know, we've been through some tough times. As I said, my dad's 83. I'm 60 now. So I'm in my Aboriginal Radri life, I'm like a carton of milk in the fridge. I've got to keep on checking the use by date every morning I get up, because I'm an old person for my family. My dad's 83, who's the oldest man we've ever had. So he's seen a lot of stuff in his lifetime, stolen generation, whatever. But that's part of Australia. We have a black history, and people shouldn't need to fear that. I still practice my skills of tool making and making coolamans and scarring trees and making my stone tools and my bush tucker. So I incorporate that into my tourism. So I would like, Laurie, your people in your group to understand more about that. I'd like them to also understand that, you know, interpretation of sites, especially Aboriginal sites in their areas, should be done by Aboriginal local elders and community with the help of your people. Delivered like that. So when I go into schools, not being able to read and write that well, I teach, and I'm sure most of your people listening today to me, and I want to have a conversation with them too later, is I'm sure to be a tourism operator or have an experience, you need to be very visual, you need to be very active, you need to be not static, you need to be alive, and people bringing them on a muluru, on a journey with you. So that's what we do. And I also go out and record many Aboriginal sites. So I'm also working with land care groups, because what your tourism operators will be understanding, or may or not, is that, you know, when the English first landed in this beautiful country, and that's part of our history, is they claimed that there was nobody here. There's an old Latin rule called terra nullius, which basically means if you find a place that has no law as you perceive that, no customs as you perceive that, no buildings, and Wiradjuri people and Aboriginal people in Australia lived in permanent buildings, not humpies and gunyas. If you don't have a government or law or religion, then there's nobody here, and that's how Australia was based. And then we move on through that, and then my dad wasn't recognised as a person until 1967, and that's in my lifetime too. When we're going to be doing the census soon. Before 67, my mob weren't counted in the census because we're not supposed to be here. So it's a big change for all of us. And I'm not saying this to cause any anger or angst or anything. I'm just saying because this is history, and this is what our tourism operators try to help Laurie, your mob with too. And because we don't see them as competitive, we see your mob as complementary. So this month we'll be rolling out some workshops starting this month around New South Wales again. So I'll be rolling out some Aboriginal workshops in Albury over 2 days, and then we've got other directors at Tamworth, and I'll be going down to Eden and doing some workshops down there for Aboriginal tour operators. But we encourage also non-Aboriginal tourism operators to come and talk to us too, and see how we can all work together. So that's done in hand with Destination New South Wales. So their workshops around the place. If your people are interested in that, Laurie, you can send me an email, and I'll send Sandy Wilkins is the lady at Destination New South Wales. So don't exclude yourself if you think because you're not Aboriginal. That is not what we're about. It's about inclusion, because our country hasn't had inclusion for a long time, and we as Wiradjuri people, we had Charles Sturt come down here in about 1828, and Oxley country, mum and dad's country, in 1812, and a lot of history shows them as explorers. So I challenge people in schools to say that they were brilliant surveyors, and that's what they were paid jobs were, surveyors, and not explorers, because all their documentation quite clearly shows that we guided them everywhere. So I see your mob, Laurie, as doing the same thing as what we do. You're guiding guests and tourists and friends through country.
Yes.
And we've come into COVID, and COVID smashed me too. I've had no international guests. I was recently in Sydney at ATE, the Australian Tourism Exchange, and spoke to a lot of agents there and a lot of online overseas. So I'm setting myself up for 2022. Domestic market down here has been huge. If there's anything good about old mate COVID, is 2 things. One, it's got families back together.
Yeah.
And 2, it's pushed the domestic local market, and your mob will probably know this too. It's pushed the domestic local market to look in their own backyard and learn about what's here. And part of that is people are now talking about Aboriginal experiences, which is fantastic. So COVID has actually exposed our tourism. So I'm probably talking too much too, am I? But
no, doing well, Mark. Absolutely no.
I mean, to your guests, the first thing that they probably notice is I don't do sticky notes, and I don't do PowerPoints, and I don't show you any graphs, because I'm over all them. they don't engage
I blame
me.
you at all.
I'd rather talk to you, and I'd rather have an open conversation. That's how I do. So,
yeah, brilliant.
Ask me. So you're going to ask me some questions. I think I've covered off everything, but I want people to understand. We're in NAIDOC, which is Wallawin Nurrumbung, a healing country. We're all involved in that. I want people to understand that I'm part of NAIDOC. We're here to help you, and if you need information, I'm sure Laurie can send that out. She sends me an email, I'll send you some details out. There's a Facebook page that I admin and look after, which is called Wiradjuri Mob, M-O-B. Once again, if Laurie wants to send me that. Now, that's a page that I admin myself, and I don't allow any rubbish on there, no swearing, politics, or anything like that. We have young people and old people follow that, and all people. 55 countries around the world follow that, and I'm fast approaching 21,000 likes. So it's a page where I encourage operators, Aboriginal, non-Aboriginal, to jump on that and have a yarn up. So so that's probably a couple of things I wanted to say. But
yeah,
you've got a few people in here, and I hope I haven't put them to sleep. But
no, I'm sure you haven't. There's been some great comments already coming through the chat, and just
nice.
So I've just cut and paste what Sandy Wilkins sent me on the workshops and the dates where they're located. So
Yep.
they're in there. If you are interested, you all have my or Leslie's email address. Please let me know which one you're interested in. And Sandy will send you an invitation to the one that you're interested in. So Mark, thank you so much. That was awesome. And as I say, I do have some questions from some people that couldn't make it today, but I might open up to the guys that are actually online now to see if they have any questions. And just to frame it quickly, is I said to Mark, can we do the all warts and all? Can we have the questions that you know, we're afraid often to ask, and we're jumping around some of the challenges of understanding cultural difference. So I challenge you all to ask a question that probably may have been burning in your head for some time in relation to how we can better connect with our connections to country. Would anyone like to start?
I'm just putting some links in there for my Facebook and YouTube channel for you all to have a look at. So share.
Brilliant, Mark. Thank you. Kirsten, did you want to start?
Thank you so much, Laurie. I'd love to start. I'm sorry, is it Graham?
Mark, no.
I don't know.
Look, names are irrelevant to me because Radri people, names are relevant. It's your nulang, it's your face that's more important. So once we know your face, a bit like a Gadigal magpie face ID, we face ID. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Name. Just say Yama. Hey, Yama. Say Yama.
Hey, Yama.
Yama.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation and for everything you've shared. It feels very heart connected way of sharing. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, there's so much history. And yeah, we could yarn on that for a long time.
Our history is your history too. My language and my culture is yours as well as your children. So that's what we share. So. Yeah.
So I guess I acknowledge that, and really value your obviously your approach is so wonderful. Thank you. No wonder you've got 20,000 likes, 21,000 likes. So well, anyway,
when you don't read and write, you have to have a skill set where you entertain people. So I do that as much. Yeah.
How wonderful! How wonderful! So I'm coming to you from an organisation called Bushwalking New South Wales. We are the peak body for bushwalking clubs in New South Wales and ACT. So we're a not-for-profit organisation. Our members are bushwalking clubs who are just people who love the bush and they love to get out there.
I've had a few in your mob coming from Canberra just recently. A few small groups do walking. Yeah, good.
Oh, beautiful.
Done some tours of them. Yeah, okay, nice.
Excellent. They would love what you're doing because our complete passion is being in nature. So what we're doing at Bushwalking New South Wales is we would be interested in there being more tracks in New South Wales, particularly long distance tracks. But of course, we would like to connect with the peoples who are the traditional owners of all the lands that we walk across as we work towards finding a way of walking across country for single and multi-day walks. Our groups also do other kinds of adventure as well, but our main purpose is walking. So that's one thing we can work very closely with to you with. And when we I'll just say one thing, that when we talk about acknowledgements and that to country, we always make sure that my Radri people have never owned this place. We've never owned it, because once you own something, you never belong. So we are the carers, custodians, but you also are the same of us. So we don't own this place. So we belong to it, same as you do. So look, the walk in Wagon, we have a 42-kilometre Radri walking track that goes right around Wagga and right out to a place a lot of you mob probably know as Kapuka, which is the main army base in Australia. That place is actually Gabuga, which means brain or your egg or brain, because it's the same thing. So, and the people I did take down to Kangal, which is a national park, which is a ceremony, part of your walking tour out of Canberra, and some Sydney mob was, you can obviously walk along,
but to have an Aboriginal person there to walk along also and listen to the different noises of the birds and identify that bird, and then to call the birds in for you. Like this morning was there's a bird that we call Googlebara, you call Kookaburra. Well, this morning it's he and her are having a sing up, so I get up in the morning and when they first start to sing, they go woo 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 woo, and then they'll go. Well, then when you do that, they come into you. So part of your walking tours with your people, and we're finding there a lot of older people, which is great, is that an Aboriginal tour guide will open up their eyes. Even if you are walking in Narmbri in Canberra somewhere, there's so much things to see in the trees and the animals and on the ground that we can help you interpret. And then they'll actually have a much richer experience of the walk, but also what we call connection to country, is to actually sit sometimes and look over a vista, but look over it and think, put yourself back 300 years ago and imagine beautiful grassed areas because of our cultural fire burning and beautiful trees, and why people would sit there where they still sit now to look over a vista, because that's a lookout area. So that's with NAIDOC, whichever area you go into, with Laurie's help, I can put you in the right direction, some tour guides you can have a yarn to, and we try to keep our costs down as low as we can, and the walking groups continue on their track. So 42 kilometres in Wagga of a walking trail is, some of it's quite steep and some of it's quite good. So, but I hear what you're saying. It's a beautiful.
Beautiful. Well, that sounds lovely. I'd love to share this video with our clubs, and also
that'd be nice.
A mention of those tours, because I'm sure there would be clubs very interested in doing it, and
look, there's places in those clubs. There's places that your mob will walk every day, as I said in my video, that they don't really truly understand the connection, and that's not their fault. My role as a Radri Gibby, as a Radri man, is to help you open up your eyes, and often don't look with your eyes. Listen with your ears and feel with your heart, because that's how they'll get a true experience on a walk, and have a yarn up to each other. It's really good. Those walking things are really good. I'd really enjoy them. So yeah.
Wow, how beautiful. That sounds very enriching. And at the moment, some of our clubs are doing things called mindfulness walks. It sounds a little bit along those lines as well. Like when you walk in nature, you're trying to be still and sort of, obviously that's the way you can detect so much about the area that you're walking through.
There's times in country when you make a noise, and there's times in country when you walk with country and walk quietly and listen. And then if you take us as human beings, we don't take time to make time to connect. The budgeon, the birds are out there screaming out to us, telling the stories, and Mother Country's telling the stories, and the galing in the water and the guya and the fish are telling the stories. And we as busy people with our iPads and whatever else we do, and I'm guilty of that too, is we don't take time to Mabinya, stop, Wibiana, Woodagabina, stop, sit and listen. And that's part of the tour, is to help people to connect not only to country, but connect to themselves. And that's what I know all you operators do, the same thing. But as an Aboriginal man, we can help you to get back to connect. Everyone's a human being. Everyone can connect to country, and we have skill sets that can show you how to do that. So, so I'm very proud to talk to you today, and if I can help you anywhere, I will.
Thank you so much. Well, it sounds wonderful. I'd love to let the clubs know about those tours that they can do, and also how they can talk to you, your people, about where to walk. Where's the right place to walk?
Yeah, because
if we form tracks, and
because don't forget your people that care for the country like we do too. They're our eyes and ears when we can't get there. If something's not quite right, then there should be a connection between your walking groups and the local Aboriginal communities. Not necessarily land councils. Land councils can be a little bit toxic, but your local community groups and others. So there's your connection if you see something not quite right, or you see too much mistletoe in a tree, which we call snotty gobble, to let us know. And we come and show you how we can farm that out, make more bundis out of it, my hitting tools out of that, but also leave some for bungle, glider squirrel, and also willow possum. So you're the ears and eyes where we can't get everywhere. Yeah.
Awesome. That's wonderful.
Yeah, good on you. Nice having you on.
Thanks, Kirsty.
Yeah.
Hugh, sorry, Kirsten, keep going. Yeah,
I've forgotten. Sorry, don't worry. I'll let you go. I've had enough of your time. Thank you so much.
No worries. Hugh's got his hand up. So Hugh, have you got a question for Mark?
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, for really powerful and inclusive messages. They're great. I've got a couple of questions.
A couple. Oh.
Yeah, I got two. I've been saving them up. Yeah.
Oh, good on you.
So I'm up in Darug Gundungurra country.
And I'll tell you one thing, Hugh. This is quite true. I practice a thing called Yinjamara, which is respect me, respect you, and learn slowly. If you ask me a question, I'll generally give you an honest answer very respectfully.
Thanks. I don't think they're going to be particularly controversial, but yeah. So I'm up in Katoomba, and I guess I've sort of had this idea for a little while that how good would it be if every town in Australia, like Katoomba, was able to kind of link the name of the town back to what it used to be called before, before Whitefella got in and renamed it. And so maybe having a shared sort of two name sort of thing, and maybe
we are doing that. You've got Mount Panorama, which is Walu, which means boy come here. It's a ceremony for boys. And then you've got Kangal down here, which is the national park, which they call the Rock. It's Kangal, which means sloping ground. But you at Katoomba, you are bordering on Radri country as well, because our nation goes right up there to Lithgow and Portland. So what you see there is Numbai Bulla Mimi, 3 sisters. We've seen them as 7 sisters in our story songlines. When the last one falls, that's Armageddon. That's right. That's the end of our culture. So we've seen them as 7. So you've got powerful songlines up through there. I encourage you to talk to the local. You've got some strong elder groups up there. I encourage you to talk to the local elder groups. What do you do, Hugh? What's your?
So I'm involved in a number of aspects of the outdoors. I teach a little bit at TAFE. With my wife, I own and run a small business, the Blue Mountains Climbing School. Fairly involved in the Australian Climbing Association, New South Wales. We had a really great meeting up here recently, and Chris and David King kind of came along, and there's some good.
I would love you to connect to the local tour operator, Aboriginal tour operator, NAIDOC, up there, and I'd love you to come to one day to our free workshops.
Yeah, I saw that they were in October. I'm pretty
well. If you can get in one October in your area, that'd be good. I'd love to be able to meet you and have a yarn up there. But what you're doing, climbing mountains and that, is stuff that we've done for a long time. Part of the skills of being a Radri Gibbia, and I won't talk too much about ceremony, but part of the skills of going from a Biran to a Gibbia, a boy to a man, was learning how to make rope, which I still do.
Yeah, that'd be great to have a chat about
climbing the hills, and also for jumping off. So that's part. So that's to get your connection of your local area. I'd talk to your local elders. I do go up to Lithgow up there many years ago and did some teaching in schools. So I teach in schools as well, just in my style. But you and TAFE, you're an important role in TAFE too, to understand a bit more about Radri and Aboriginal culture as well, to instill in, even rock climbing that you do, is to understand firstly the place that you're climbing and the ceremony reason for it. And if there are some ceremony places in there, and you talk to local elders, if they've got the knowledge base, they might be able to guide you around and away from those sites. Because sometimes what will happen in Aboriginal communities is, if you're not getting feedback from the community and you're trying to talk, it's normally a silent protest that something's gone wrong and they won't talk. So I specifically say to you, and I'll help you as much as I can, is that any high point in Australia is a ceremony lookout place. So on country, we still have special trees called Yawama Muddin, boundary marker ring trees, which I still record. And from those hills where you climb, specifically, we're looking for Bumbi smoke out on country, because remember, before Charles Sturt's documentation is area, and as we know before colonisation, this place was heavily forested with beautiful eucalypts and great grasses because of cultural fire burning. The only way to find your way around country was Billa River or Durran the creeks. And the only way to see people coming onto your nation was from the high hills where you climb. And when they get to a specific point on those Billa and Durran rivers and creeks, they come onto a boundary marker tree where they've got to stop, start a fire, smoke. And then your mob will then see that Bumbi from that area and know exactly where they are. and come down and say good day to them. That's part of country. So I'd suggest talk to your local elders, and if you can't find anyone, contact Laurie or contact me.
Yeah, we're in touch with a couple, and we've had some fledgling relationships, but I'd like to sort of say beginnings of friendships, and definitely a lot of mutual respect. And
yeah, what happens to you is, and to all your other tourism operators, what happens is people are a lot of Aboriginal people are still a little bit wary of people coming asking information, because it's been done before and it's really hurt us. So we as NAIDOC try to help everyone through that process. But so our elders, and some of our elders have lost their knowledge as well, and we're trying to instill that back into them, so they get a bit fearful if you ask them questions, and they don't really they're not knowledge holders, that you might be getting in a situation where you'll find out they don't know anything. So they throw up barriers. So we want to make sure that we can get you through that process. But that's what I do every day of the week, and that's what NAIDOC do. So that was one question. What's your other one? Yeah, that was Numbai. What's your Bulla? What's your second one?
Yeah, so the Wiradjuri nation, when you look on that sort of Indigenous cultures or Indigenous nations map, it's bloody huge.
It's very loose. I'd suggest to you that over 80,000 years ago, the Wiradjuri wasn't that big an area, but because of what's happened in our nations, and we've lost a hell of a lot of mobs in our area through disease, and Australia thinks they see a pandemic now. And from 1770 to 1788, they reckon in Sydney, the Gadigal mob lost about 15,000 people in the first 10 years from smallpox and common flu and massacres. So we haven't seen a pandemic like we've seen. But so Wiradjuri, quickly goes down to Albury and up the Great Dividing Range, up near where you are, slips across to Thubu, which is Dubbo, which is red dirt country, slips out past Mum and Dad's place, Lake Agilico, Uabalong, slips out to Hay, and then slips down to Cora, which in our language means rocky river crossing, and then along the Milawa Indigo. So I believe that over many years, Wiradjuri's expanded because we've lost a lot of mob. Wiradjuri is actually, Numbai Bulla Billa Mine actually means three river people. So the main rivers in our system are the Womble, the Macquarie, the Galari, the Lachlan, and where I am today, the Murrumbidgee, which means big boss, plenty big water. They're the three. The Milawa Indigo Murray is a boundary marker. So we are the three river people. So it is a big area. And if you have troubles, mate, engaging local community, that's my role as an unpaid director in NAIDOC to help you through that process. But it's all about getting to meet you people and helping you on your journey and that. And in some way, what you do with NAIDOC, Aboriginal tourism operators, may boost our income and our exposure, and will also do the same to you. That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
I hope I answered your questions, mate. They weren't tricky.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome, thanks, Hugh. How are you going for time, Mark? I know
I can talk if you want to, but if you've got something else to do, you can just push the button.
No, all good.
Exactly.
I've got these questions that I'd love to ask you from the other members that can't make it today, so they're really keen to hear your responses. One of the questions was, can I offend Aboriginal people in how I acknowledge country, not being an Aboriginal person themselves?
Well, an acknowledgement can be done by anyone. Today I've done a welcome for you, go open up, because in this area here, if I don't have elders available, my elders have agreed that I can do welcome to country, because I'm losing elders like you wouldn't believe down here. So I'm able to do that on occasions where I class there's not an elder available. So elders are the only ones that do a welcome to country, which is welcome you onto the nation that we all live on and that we care for and love, and then you're all very welcome and you all live here as well. An acknowledgement can be done by anyone. An acknowledgement, just you acknowledge the nation that you're on. Sometimes in different areas, as you all will know, and if I all got to see you Nulung, you'd be starting to shake your heads, I know, and say, there's a bit of conflict in different areas about whose nation's on what and who's on where. And that's part of colonisation that's driving us apart. So I don't get involved in that. Acknowledgement is, if you're not real sure, there's a couple of clan groups there that are having a dust up over it, is to acknowledge the people that, and I don't like the word owned, I'd like the word care, but the people that have tended this nation and will still tend this nation here and look after it like we all do now. So I don't see that. It's just that sometimes, as I said, clan groups, if you mention one name and someone is going to mention and then they get it the willy. So unfortunately, sometimes it's just best to acknowledge, as you did this morning, you did a beautiful acknowledgement this morning, just to acknowledge the people on the land here that have been here for so long and still continue to live and care for this place. So yeah, that's cool.
Right. Awesome. And another one, they say, I'm not Aboriginal, but I want to ensure I acknowledge and integrate their connection to my activities. How can I connect their interpretation to what I do every day? You might have answered a little bit of that in your speech, but yeah, is there any tips?
So it's important when I go into schools. Last year I was a provider in NESA, which is New South Wales Education Standards Authority, up until 30th of November, and the Minister of Education decided she was going to ban everybody. It was caused a whole nightmare. But the reason I'm saying is I go into teachers, and teachers, I teach my Wiradjuri language in my way, and I help the teachers to assist them to share with Aboriginal experiences and language with children. Well, this is the same question your person's asking me, is how do I incorporate that?
Yeah.
My idea is giving the teachers skill sets that they know how to share and do that, but they've got to stop at the point where they start to do their own interpretation of sites and what the words are. Because once people start to interpret about, oh, this is a bora ring and this is what people did here, touching on that's fine. Once you go any deeper than that to start to explain the spiritual and the dream time stories, that should be up to our people to assist your mob to do that. So, talking about this is an Aboriginal place. They come here and danced here and done all this, and business here, Wuggity come and danced here, and these are medicinal plants. This is Bullagai saltbush, and this is berry and emu bush, and Budine, old man weed that we use for skin irritations. To do all that's really beautiful and nice. To go to the below the skin level and start to talk about Dreamtime stories and spirituality should be left to our people, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But as NAIDOC, we want your members and your people to embrace what we're doing, because we'll embrace it with you and we'll help you through that process. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Absolutely, Mark. Yes, and I think what you've managed to do is also answer some of the other questions that I was given through the talk. So thank you so much for your time. I know we've taken you over time that you had available, so
that's right.
Extend our appreciation. And has anyone got one quick question you want to ask Mark before he disappears?
I've quietened them down for you.
Okay.
So I put that YouTube channel there, which I've created short videos because I don't read and write. So I've taught myself how to do green screen videos. So you can have a look at that, what I do, and share that with your people. And then the Facebook page, I encourage you all to share. There was a post I just did about Google Bar. One of my good mates put some artwork down in Albury. I've just posted that. At the moment, that post is up to 26,000 people who access that post. So that's, my page is quite large. So I would like your members to be involved in that Facebook page, and if they've got anything happening in their areas, to send me what they're doing, and I'll be happy to share across.
Fabulous. Yeah, great. Please, jump onto that, and great opportunity. Thank you again. And you're welcome to stick around if you want to, but I know you're a very busy person.
I've got to duck off and do another meeting, but I said I sent those links through. Anyone wants to contact me, that's fine. I'll put my email there as well before I go, and it's all good. Thanks for inviting me, and I'm very proud to meet you all.
Oh, I can't thank you enough. It's great to have you, and thank you again. So look, we've got a bit to sort of update everyone on, so I will jump into it. And there was a few reminders that we mentioned last week, which I need to just cover off as well. So if anyone is in the Newcastle area, the Australian Deaf Games is being held in April 2022. If you have a camp facility, accommodation of any type, and you wish to put forward some of your facilities for this event, please get in touch with me as soon as you can. There is quite a substantial amount of people heading into the Newcastle area for that event, and we want to connect our opportunity with that and help them where we can. For those that haven't submitted to ACARA, you have missed out. So everything was due yesterday for ACARA review. Outdoors New South Wales and ACT did submit a submission to ACARA on the basis of trying to increase the opportunity of outdoor education in all curriculum, but also highlighting some of the areas that we've been talking to ACHPA and also OTAN about some of the improvements that could be made. So that was due yesterday. If you missed out, maybe jump onto the website and see if you can submit something by the email, but the link for the survey has now been taken down. The other one that I wanted to remind you about was the survey for the camp research. This is an important piece of research where we have, we're going out to the schools to understand some of the challenges that the schools have with increasing their outdoor education. We want to understand what their participation is in the outdoor ed space. We want to understand how much more they'd like to do and some of those challenges. Complementing that, we're talking to the camp providers, people like yourselves that have a camp facility. And please, if you do have a camp facility, complete this survey. It will help match that understanding of the research and really bring forward some great recommendations for us when we're engaging schools and getting them more outdoors. So scan that QR code or jump onto that survey link and complete that survey for us. Some interesting information I got hold of this week, which I was glad that I got the permission to share with you today. And if you haven't heard about this, I did touch on it at the budget announcement where Careers New South Wales was being funded through the budget. It's in a pilot phase, and this is a great opportunity for us with some of the things we've been talking about in Connect and Share and building the awareness of the outdoors as a career option, and trying to instill the opportunities that we have right across the 4 areas of the outdoors. So Careers New South Wales is an initiative by the government to bring in a like a mentor role into Service New South Wales to help people navigate career options. So the long and short of it is that it will commence in this year, and then the full scale rollout will happen next year after the pilot has started. But it is using the facility of Service New South Wales and the service centres to engage with people in a front door one-stop shop type of opportunity where people can sit down with someone, be matched with someone to provide a guidance in career options. So needless to say, I'm working with the people that are looking at this program on how we can build our content and our opportunity of our industry into this. The actual pilot regions are Coffs Harbour, Armidale, Liverpool and Penrith. So needless to say, a couple of those are very well matched to our industry. So again, we will be doing everything we can to provide that content. COVID, what can I say? What a week we've had of announcements and challenges that no doubt are facing all of us right now, no matter where you are, even if you are in ACT. So just a quick update on the ACT, other than the relaxation of masks, everything pretty much is same as usual, and they're recommending obviously the travel to cease in between the borders. The Check Canberra app is now mandatory for a lot of businesses that are welcoming any visitors into them. And yeah, as I say, the mask wearing has been reduced. But in New South Wales, we have quite a few new challenges. So Greater Sydney has still got stay-at-home orders right until next Friday, midnight, the 16th of July. And regional New South Wales have the continuation of the same restrictions that have been in place for the last 2 weeks. The addition that appeared yesterday was the Department of Education and its rulings on no camps or excursions for the time that Sydney is in lockdown. Again, needless to say that we are trying to do our utmost to get some clarification on what the future looks like and make sure that we notify the powers on the effect of this restriction to our industry and to our businesses. I've started to collect some excellent case studies that will certainly help me in those conversations. If you have not supplied any of those case studies, please do so, because it will only add to the content that we can take to the people that we are speaking with. Does anyone have any questions in relation to the current situation relating to COVID?
I think I'll just start over the top of someone. Sorry, Melanie, you were first.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just wanted to know, well, you know where we're located, just over the border.
Yes.
So can we have Queensland schools?
So currently there is no border restrictions from what I understand, what I searched yesterday, unless that's changed this morning. I haven't seen it. So it is pretty much up to the schools. I don't think there's been a directive to Queensland schools on that. So I'll have another look after this session, Mel, and confirm that to you. But that's my understanding, that it's up to the individual schools to make that assessment. New South Wales schools have been advised not to continue with any overnight or camps, is how they put it, excursions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, we've got a Queensland school booked in a few days after the 16th of July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll do a quick scout for you as soon as this session's over, and I'll let you know if I find anything. But yeah, my search yesterday was, for that moment in time, it was all clear.
Yeah. Changes quickly.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Thanks, Laurie.
No worries, Mel. Hugh?
Yeah, I was just going to canvass, I guess, the ideas from the group. If people are travelling within their local government area for the purposes of exercise, that's okay. Yes. Could they do that with a commercial provider?
Yes, it actually is on the Department of Education website as well as the health website, that they can go to outdoor areas within their LGA. But they are encouraging, if it is a school camp or an overnight, that they are not to do it. So they can have a day excursion within the LGA, but not an overnight.
Thanks for that, Laurie.
No. Any other questions? And thanks, Paul. That would be amazing. Send that through. Okay. The other thing I will update you, because I noticed Rob was online earlier, is around the immigration rulings. We're still working with the Department of Immigration on the opportunities of visa and sponsorship for staff. So no further clarification, but the activity is continuing in that.
Thanks, Laurie.
No worries. Okay, the extension of the grant. So for your staff, if they're losing hours, so it's under 20 or over 20 hours a week, the federal government has now extended that payment to Sydney. So encourage your staff, if you have to lay them off or not provide hours, that they can apply for that grant now through the federal government. If you need the link, let me know. I will send it to you. But I think it's $350 if they're under 20 hours and $500 if it's over 20 hours that they have lost due to the recent closures and lockdowns. And I encourage all of you, if you have lost, I think it's 30, 50 or 70% of your business over this time, it is a scalable grant that's available through the New South Wales government. The details will be a lot clearer by the end of July and applications will be open then. But time to have a look at your income levels over these last 2 weeks, will be 3 weeks. And if you have seen a drop, which no doubt a lot of you have, jump in and make sure you apply for that grant. It's up to $10,000. So if you lose more than 70% of your income, that $10,000 can go towards wages, utilities, and costs of trade. So make sure you jump in there. It may not cover everything, but it'll cover something. And the Dine and Discover vouchers are literally still extended till the 30th of August. So if you do provide opportunities to use those vouchers, make sure you're marketing that out there and make sure that you get some of that opportunity once the lockdowns and restrictions reduce. And the last reminder there is around the National Outdoor Education Conference. So it is just around the corner. Who knows what it's going to be like on a restriction level by then, but we're hoping we're all going to be fine. The dinner is pretty much full, so there's only, I think, a couple of tickets left. If you're interested in coming to that celebratory dinner, in amongst that conference, make sure you jump in. But there's still plenty of tickets, and you can buy day tickets now, so you can buy a Wednesday or a Thursday only if there's some certain topics that you're really interested in. The student rate is now available as well, or you can book for the whole conference. For those that book the activity day, you'll receive some information in the next week, which will get you to select which activity you're going to choose. So lots of opportunities there. Yes, Mel, thank you. I think that's going to be a substantial drop for a lot of people. So I'm not too sure what comparative period they're going to ask for in that, but that will come clearer as it gets closer to the end of July when the conditions are announced. Great, guys. That's pretty much all the updates from me. Is there anyone that wants to ask a question or throw up an idea or throw up a challenge that they're facing at the moment? We've got 5 minutes left to have a bit of a discussion. You've all gone for coffee, Leslie.
Thanks,
Rob.
Laurie. That was good. Appreciate that. Wasn't very. I had a couple of things going on the side here, so I apologise. I was in and out of that meeting, but
That's all right.
heard a bit, and I'll definitely follow up on the website with the Indigenous stuff there. That was unreal.
Yeah, brilliant. And yeah, if you want to get to any of those sessions, just drop me an email and I'll connect you with Sandy and she'll send you the formal invitation.
Great. I haven't got my NAIDOC tickets yet, but I will, so I'll see all you guys there.
Awesome. We'll see you there. Thanks, Rob. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next time.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye. Okay, anyone else?
I was just going to reiterate what Rob said. Mark was a great speaker, really, really engaging, really inclusive. That was,
Very much so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So glad he could make it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a bit of a find there, and thanks to some old colleagues from Destination New South Wales who put me in contact. But yeah, NAIDOC are doing some amazing things, and it's just really great to see the movement that's happened in the short time that I was at Destination New South Wales to now, and the changes that have been made. And we can only learn from that and endorse, yeah, the opportunity that's before us to be able to do the same. Great, guys. Well, I might let you go. 3-minute early mark. How's that for a Friday?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Borrowed time. I always love borrowed time. Okay, guys, if you want to join us for happy hour, please do so. 4 o'clock this afternoon. Links on our Facebook page. Otherwise, we will see you next week. Have a fabulous weekend and a great week ahead.
Fantastic. Many thanks, Laurie.
No worries.
That was awesome.
Thanks, Mel.
Awesome.